But there, I went down and took him down to the Palace of Fine Arts. Went and walked through there.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite places
It's a great
in the
place
city.
to take him.
I thought, because we were talking about San Francisco, and we came in, and it was really magical. Like the bridge, like when we came in, it was like how the fog was.
Yeah.
And here's the little tip of the bridge.
Uh-huh.
And then as we got on the bridge, the fog dispersed. See? And by the time we got into the city, it was like clear blue, limpid blue sky. It was beautiful. So it was really magical.
So is this the mother of these children?
Mm-hmm. Just that slim little girl. I got her here. Her name is Melissa, and I got a shot of her with the swans. I thought, Melissa and the swans.
Yeah.
Here she is. The classic Greek concept. The Greek pillar.
Mm-hmm.
The swans. And I took him to the zoo. Met a friend of yours there.
The sea lion?
It's a gorilla.
Oh, a gorilla.
A gorilla.
Oh yes, so it is. I see now.
He was the grandson, like with a rhinoceros charging him.
Well, you would have come to his aid.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was taking pictures. Got to get this last shot in. They sawed this rhinoceros's horn off. I guess because it was dangerous, or maybe it was one that they had gotten because the horn had been sewn off. I don't know.
Well, I think it's still dangerous. You wouldn't get me to pose for a photo there, but of course there's a fence between.
We're on a big gully there. I mean, it's in a kind of deep place.
This gorilla looks very small.
Yeah, well, I was a ways away.
Uh-huh.
There's a
Wisely so, I suppose.
Well, and again, up behind a fence, like at this sort of situation.
He's a nice-looking fellow.
He is.
He should be in movies.
He's a good kind of movie star look. He's planning to be a star baseball player.
Oh,
He's a baseball scholar.
well, he'll get over that.
I don't think so.
He'll be in movies.
Maybe so. Maybe in baseball movies.
There aren't that many.
Well, it's a new genre.
You're inventing.
Yeah. Anyway, it was wonderful to have the kids around. Your son gonna come?
He's coming in August.
How old is he?
He's 39. And
Yeah.
his wife, who's 40, I guess, and their 2 children, who are like 8 months and 4.
Oh, I said young for. Just started having children.
Well, that happens these days.
Seems to.
Yeah. One reason is that rents are very high.
The economics of family life.
Yeah, well, rent is a
Big factor.
killer.
My mom was telling me that when she was like a young woman, she's 94 now, and when she was like before she was married, she got $50 a month was her salary, but her room was $5 a week with $5 a month with breakfast. So it was 1/10 of her salary, which was affordable.
Yeah.
Whereas today, I mean, you might make $3,000 and spend half your salary on an apartment.
I remember when I was in college that that year I'd been living I had a whole apartment for what they call a suite in Canada, at least in Vancouver.
Vancouver.
It was a suite, and it was a basement suite. And it didn't mean it didn't have windows, it just meant that they looked upon stone walls or something.
Like you were in prison or in the...
And it was $70 a month.
Whoa, man.
Great, eh?
What year was that?
1956.
When I came back from Alaska in '66, in Berkeley, I rented an apartment that had 2 bedrooms, just off of Shattuck, for $125. And we rented one of the rooms and had plenty of space left over. Had a big closet.
Yeah.
It was kind of an old, not a Victorian, but one of those kind of plain apartment-like buildings built maybe in the 20s.
Yeah, things got difficult
Yeah, after that.
later.
Later.
I can't remember when they got difficult.
I think the 70s were pretty much.
Yeah, but that was the first time, the 70s were the first time I'd had a professional full-time job.
So then you didn't notice it.
So that you don't notice it that much now. And I was also by then living here. I mean, not here, but
You came to Sonoma.
in Sonoma County. Right, and the rents were much cheaper than here.
Did you start off as a professor?
Yep. Well,
Not a full professor.
no, some kind of a professor.
Assistant.
Assistant professor. Although that's misleading because I wasn't helping anyone. Well, I may have helped the students. Well,
one hopes.
one hopes, but it's not as though I were the assistant professor,
No.
and he was a full professor,
Uh-huh.
and he was
He used-
teaching, my subject, and I was assisting him at that. No.
What's the difference between an assistant and an associate?
What is the difference? Some years.
Some years,
Right.
and then you get this higher position.
Yeah, and pay more. You
And
get
pay.
more pay.
Mm.
Pay is more.
Mhm.
And then finally, you're a full professor. Full professor.
Were you trained as a? Do you train as a professor? I mean, do you just because you had did you have a doctorate and therefore that was sufficient, or
I didn't have a doctorate.
what did you have?
I pulled.
What does that mean?
Well, I guess that,
You knew some people.
yeah, that's what pull means.
I guess it does.
Yeah. I don't think it didn't really work like that.
Either that, or you had them over the barrel somehow. A black
No, there was no barrel I had anyone over. No, sir.
But they wanted you here.
They wanted me. I came from, I was picked out of over 500 applicants. And at that time, it seemed likely that I would have a doctorate, that I would complete that training.
Had you published?
Yeah, that's what did it.
Uh-huh.
I published several books,
What were they?
books of poetry.
Uh-huh. What titles? What were the early titles?
The Gathering, Please Like Me,
Uh-huh.
or Please Like Me.
Please Like Me?
Yeah.
There's a good son of 60s title.
And then, let's see, what happened after that.
Can you remember any Please Like Me poems? I mean, what is that?
There was a poem called Please Like Me,
Uh-huh.
and that was the book. It was a small book, chapbook.
Uh-huh.
I can't remember any of it.
No, but yeah.
And then came what book?
Well, others. How many books altogether? Maybe
Well, since
roughly.
I met you, the numbers increased.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, before
Sorry.
before we started cranking
Um,
out books.
it's somewhere in like 35.
Oh, that's a lot. Yeah, it's a significant body of work.
Some of them were small.
Yeah, but each book, in that respect, you have to interact with a publisher and the whole process,
Oh, yeah.
and the marketing and it.
Right.
You
I had
find
to
it
interact with John Martin at Black Sparrow Press.
Oh yeah.
He just started up and he was trying to discover people who would do well. And so he was publishing my books at that time. And also I published put out my own book.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't fast enough. And so I did a book that was, I don't know, it was about 20 pages, I guess.
We're gonna move on.
Oh, yeah, that guy's a poet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell by the way he drives. Watch out. He won a prize for poetry here a couple of years ago.
Is it the neighbor here? He's a
He's
writer as well.
Yeah. Where?
This one that lives on this side.
No, is he a writer?
Well, is he the one that wrote that poem about
Oh, that's right.
the Palestinians and
That's
the
right.
Israelis?
That's right.
He did.
Yeah.
He may not be known as a poet, but he did publish a small
Yes, that's right.
pamphlet on
Well, he's
during the war
He's
on Iraq.
is he a rabbi?
Maybe so.
I think.
Yeah, he
Well,
did.
he's hey, what do you call it?
Professional.
Yeah, he's what is it?
A moil?
No, what is
Oh.
it that Cecelia used to be?
An ordained minister?
No,
Midwife?
no.
No. Sorry. Not a moil, not a midwife.
No.
We're getting far away.
Yeah, you're drifting.
Well, all the same,
No,
he
no,
wrote this book.
I want to remember the.
the exact position he is, and was it in a religious situation? I mean, like.
Well, he might be a rabbi.
Yeah.
I might not be wrong there, but he is a psychotherapist.
Ah.
Oh,
Well, that's a religion too.
I'll say. And that's what Cecelia used to be.
Till she married you.
No.
Then she had her own, all she could have.
She retained her psychotherapy credentials, but she ran a where's she now?
She's preparing our dinner.
Oh, she
Very,
ran,
very important function.
she ran amok. No, she ran she was a member of a group that did psychotherapy.
What do you call those? Like group therapy.
Group therapy, yeah.
Yeah, therapists. Group therapy.
Therapist.
Yeah.
And people who were in trouble came to them. They came to them, and then they were in trouble.
Then they were in trouble. Yeah.
But now she runs one, an agency.
How long have you been retired, David?
A long time. I retired in 1993. And since then, I've had part-time work. Like I went to Naropa for a week, and I was paid.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I was.
Did you like it?
Well, yes and no.
Uh-huh.
I had a little trouble with some of the people who were teaching there. That had happened beforehand.
Oh, you mean had previous issues?
Yeah.
This was at the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics?
Yes. Yeah, I like that title.
Yeah. I think they consider it kind of a secular part of their school, and they have the Buddhist school too.
That's right. I wasn't a Buddhist at the time, and I'm not a Buddhist now, but I know more about it. And I suppose in a way I am a Buddhist. It seems to me I'm a Buddhist.
Well, you can claim it without any shame. Do it.
Yeah, thank you. Good. Yes, I am a Buddhist. But to what extent, I can't say.
Well, Buddhism is one of those things. Some people practice it quite seriously, and some people just feel attuned to the philosophy. Maybe
Well put, yeah.
they have a natural
Yeah, I'm attuned to the philosophy.
natural feeling about it, as though that was their philosophy.
Yeah.
Seems like what they believe.
Yeah. Seems likely that I'm a Buddhist.
If you listen to the Dalai Lama, he says the main precept is to find compassion and your actions. So if you have compassion in your actions, that's good.
Well, I do have compassion in my actions.
And then if somebody wanted to say,
ask anyone around here. They'll all tell you. They'll all
right,
agree.
and then to find that yourself doesn't have that much importance.
No,
that you are so
myself is not important at all.
so that no one cares whether or not you're compassionate. Shouldn't bother you.
Oh, no, I hadn't thought of that. So this is sort of backfire.
Yeah, can't be too proud of being compassionate.
Right.
Or it.
Sorry. I'm well known around here, because I sit in this garden all the time.
Yeah.
It's where it's my office. It's where in fact, I have a student, and when she comes, if it isn't too hot, we meet out here.
And what do you talk about?
Her poetry.
Has she been writing long?
She's old enough to have been writing long, but she was a wife in the 50s. And to hear her tell it, she was therefore a person of no importance. She had
But she felt bad. She feels bad about it.
She feels bad about that.
Yeah, rather than it just being...
She had 2 children, now grown up. She had a husband, long ago divorced. And for a long time she thought she was a person of no importance. And now, through poetry, she's decided that she has a certain importance.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that's great.
I didn't think of poetry as something that would bring about raise one's self-esteem. Normally it makes one feel so stupid.
So less.
And so less.
So much lesser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of like you're wasting so much time.
Oh, well, certainly my father thought so. He even said so.
But so she takes this quite seriously.
Very seriously.
That it gives her a feeling of importance.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And do you encourage this?
I encourage that. Yeah. And so in this way I do good. And her poetry is improving too.
What are its weaknesses? Well, maybe we shouldn't speak of.
I don't think so.
No,
She's not here.
Yeah, she's not here.
Not here.
We could talk about the red wheelbarrow.
So much depends on it.
Why?
Because if it's there, then everything else is here. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
How do you read it?
Well, I was talking to Lou Garcia last night. He says it'll never rust, even if you bury it.
Well, that's good. I like that. Yeah, but still,
But it won't
I
go
would
away,
say,
what?
I would say if the red wheelbarrow is there, then everything else is there.
That's what that depends upon me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a
So much depends upon
There's
a
another-
red wheelbarrow. Yes.
yeah, there's another reading about the indeterminateness of the of any existing thing, that everything is pending. Everything is
Pa.
yeah.
That's what I say. I can say that now because I'm nearly 70.
You just say pa
Yeah.
in
Pa.
the middle of a sentence.
Yeah.
Pa.
Pa.
Yeah.
My interpretation is better.
Mhm.
I mean, Lou Garcia, he's just a young fellow.
Yeah, that's true.
In my mind, he's still.
Well, he didn't say that. I said I'm the young fellow. He just said that the red wheelbarrow, you could bury it and it would never rust.
Oh, that's it. Right.
But I said that the thing is.
Oh, that was you? I
Yeah,
thought
that-
you were quoting someone else.
Well, I mixed up my quotation with his quotation. I feel that the red wheelbarrow is indeterminate, or that I'm not sure about it. It's just there in its time and place when we see it, and that's important.
You mean by its time and place? You mean the one that he had seen?
Well,
And was writing
it's
about?
still there. It kind of glazed with rainwater beside the red chickens.
What, the white chickens?
Well, see, it shifts as I get close to the wheelbarrow. What did I see? The red chickens?
Yeah.
Well, they could be. I've seen red chickens, but
Or they might be
They might-
communist chickens.
these white chickens, they probably are drenched in rainwater as well.
Yeah.
What were they doing out in the rain?
Things were being mismanaged at the farm.
Maybe so.
You know, it's just some little farm. Probably not enough people to see that everything gets done right.
Do you think the chickens might have been kind of in a pen before the wheelbarrow ever arrived?
They might have been.
Yeah, they might have been there after somebody removed the wheelbarrow.
Well, you got to face it. We're not given a lot of details
Yeah, there
in
is.
that poem.
there is-
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, we're just the wheelbarrow is posited, or is presented,
Yeah.
or is given to us to look at.
Yeah.
But there's this mysterious depending upon, or that things depend upon it.
Well, they do. The chickens depend on it because that's the wheelbarrow is used to cart their feed to them. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean that's possible. Right?
Yeah. If you've worked on a farm,
Yeah.
you have a way of, you immediately recognize that farm
Yeah.
before you worry about it. It was only later that I worried about it because I saw that there's a lot of people who haven't worked on farms and consequently might not have an understanding of what the wheelbarrow's function was in relation to the chickens. I mean, it probably was used to clean them out,
Yeah, you could muck out the chicken shed.
to muck out the shed.
Yeah.
That's great that you know that, the expression.
I grew up on a
Phrase.
farm too, so
Yeah.
I recognize
Yeah,
this old red wheelbarrow.
yeah.
But when it becomes a poem, I'm not sure I recognize it.
What's it doing there in the book of
in the
in,
book-
in the anthology?
In the anthology,
Yeah.
right? Why do so many imagist poems depend on it?
It's a joke,
It is a joke.
but a good joke. It's not a meaningless joke.
No, and it's not a joke that's on anyone. It's just on.
No, it's not at anyone's expense.
Oh, other than all of our sense that we need a lot of stuff in a poem, and we're quite delighted when we find that there's a lot in a poem that just says so much depends upon.
It seems at first to say nothing.
Yeah, at first to say nothing.
Yeah, and then after a while, you can really get going.
I was watching a movie last night called State in Maine. It was a play by David Mamet, and the writer in this was like just fascinated by things in themselves, the sanctity of everyday things, which is a kind of, again, the kind of awe in a simple red wheelbarrow.
Yeah, I think you could say that's an American thing.
Like
Sanctity of everyday things.
yeah,
Well,
American.
everyday things certainly.
Yeah.
It seems to me a very American tradition.
But
Because once a thing is a tradition, then things get sanctified anyway.
yeah. But this is before they get traditional. That
Yeah.
they're things that we find every day
Yeah,
that have a certain purity.
right. And we think that they are poetic. At first, a lot of people don't agree. You know, a lot of fun was made of William Carlos Williams, and it wasn't a good kind of fun for writing poems like that.
Charles Bronstein says that it's a very important contribution that he made, but no one has really taken it to heart.
Well, and Charles Bernstein, don't forget, is saying that, what, 50 years, 60 years after Williams wrote and published it. So it's a little easier to be kind to William Carlos Williams now than it was in 1923, say, when that poem I think was published. So, yeah, because I think it was in the spring of it. So that's probably 1922, 23. And just think of the courage it took to publish that as a poem. So much depends on a red wheelbarrow glazed with rainwater beside the white chickens. And to leave it at that. That would take courage today even to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then it must have taken a great deal of courage. And I'm glad he did it. Because it enabled me to write some poems that I wouldn't have had the guts to publish if he hadn't done that.
I would have never figured out how to write without that. I would have always been trying to write like Percy Bysshe Shelley.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But I would always have been trying to write like, I don't know, who were they also had three names. John Hall Wheelcock, or what was his name?
Well, somebody like that, who's somewhat obscure. And
Just before my generation, there were a lot of American poets who had three names. What were they? Who were they?
well, Ford Maddox Ford was one, but he wasn't a poet.
And he was English.
And he was English.
Yeah. So it wasn't him.
Thomas Stearns Eliot was an American for a while.
Oh yes, but I don't think of him as a poet with three names.
No.
I think of him as a poet with two initials. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well.
I think of Ezra Pound as a poet with two names,
Mhm.
although I'm sure someone knows his middle name. But no, these were.
Well,
This is
do we
nice to
remember
have
this?
this, isn't it?
Yeah, it helps. It's helpful.
Helps a lot.
Kind of fills in the...
Fills in the silences, which, after all, indicate our ignorance, or at least in me, the effects of the stroke. You're not so slow on the uptake.
Well, Ezra Pound said something about the way once they wrote history and they left blanks in their writings for things they didn't know.
Once there was a time when they left blanks in their writings for things they didn't know. But that was no longer the case, apparently.
No, the time is passing.
Yeah, it's passing while we're sitting here, and everything is like a TV show now. So that you can't leave blanks in your talking because
People get up and go away. Or
because time's worth money.
oh yeah. And silence is where diddly squat.
Well, I don't know. Silence is gold.
It was before they started advertising.
Yeah, but now it's not gold anymore. Anyway, I should ask you a question. You've been a poet all your life, but you've been a poet all your life, and you've published an immense number of poems. You should be better known. And you will be.
Mm-hmm.
But to some extent, it's your own fault because you don't give a damn.
I think,
Wouldn't you agree?
yeah, I give a damn, and I mean, sometimes I would like to think of how I could be better, more well known, and I think because I've published a lot in the last few years, once I've kind of made that a part of my routine of sending out poems, some for print magazines and a lot online, that I did gain gratification for that. But for so many years, I lived kind of in an isolated place,
You lived in isolated places.
and I could have sent things out.
You
but
lived in Alaska,
Mhm.
and then you lived in that town in Washington,
Central Washington, Ellensburg.
Ellensburg, right?
But I didn't think, I think I was so happy in those places with my life that I didn't feel I needed to add to. Rejection slips are really, I don't like them.
They're downers.
They are downers. And I didn't meet so many poets that that helped me get published.
Right.
You know.
Like I was lucky in that
Mhm.
way, I suppose, because in Berkeley, I met a lot of poets.
Mhm.
And somehow I missed meeting you, and although I think I probably saw you on my telegraph magazine. But then you were gone. You went down to Southern California. And
San
then
Luis Obispo.
Yeah. And then you went up to the Pacific Northwest. I mean, you and I have lived in the same places, really, but at different times sometimes.
Mhm.
And
Well, our time to be together was more like today.
was now.
Yeah.
Actually, when I
Which
thought it was too late,
Mhm.
actually, to meet anyone new.
Mhm.
But fortunately for me, you were here. And, or just down the road.
Well, I didn't know you were here. When I gave the reading in Grayton with Lou Garcia, he said that you had come to the reading, and I said, oh, I didn't see David, and I think I recognized your name, but I wasn't sure what you looked like. And he said something about you telling.
Well, you might have known, because my photos in nearly every one of my books.
That's true.
And if you had read me, you might have got tired of reading and wanted to look at the pictures instead.
Well, I found some of your books in the bottom of a box of, it's Sprint, where things that are left in the store are collected, and they just wind, and they,
Oh, God, really?
yeah, and so I was digging through that, looking for some masters one day, and I found your books, and I thought, oh, well, I recognize these. I mean, I recognize this writer.
I
And
left some books there.
no, it was probably another person that
Had left them.
and left them, and I asked.
No, it was probably me.
Or
I
may
probably
well
have
have been.
supplied it.
And then I asked them. They said, no, they've been here for a long time. You can have them. So I said, okay. And then when I heard you were reading in Healdsburg, I took those books up and you inscribed them. That was when we kind of.
Oh, great.
Yeah. So it was like, well, it was a good.
Yeah, they were probably my books.
All right. So
I mean, they had belonged to me, but
now they're mine.
now they're yours,
They have my names in them.
and I would have given them to you anyway.
Good.
So the right person picked them up. Yeah.
Well, I just got such a kick out of the poems too, because I like.
Were they the kind of poems that you might have written?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They were small poems, and they had a sense of humor, and they played with words, and
And they were deeply serious.
yeah, they were.
Too.
Yeah,
You
they
knew
were.
that.
I knew that.
Yeah.
They were deeply serious.
I wonder what he's playing.
Just, you improvising over there?
Yeah, but it's got a certain. Hi.
Oh, how are you?
Hi. Is there anything here to eat? Is there bread and butter, for instance? No, she promised me about half
Oh,
an
she
hour
did.
ago
Yeah, she did.
that she'd bring me some bread and butter.
That's right.
And I thought that she might not have wanted to interrupt, thinking this
No,
was, serious
I told her.
business.
Yeah, I told her that we were just being ourselves, kind of doing what we do every
We try to do
afternoon.
that, yeah. Eating,
Only we're not as
including
lucky
eating.
to have people bring us
Thanks,
food and play music while we talk.
Well, we are today.
Yeah, well, today's a special day.
Oh, you want some?
Yeah.
I see you do.
But you should, this is for your blood sugar.
Yeah, most of it is.
Yeah. But we should break bread.
I had sky hopes, I had open scopes, I had earth all over my face.
Got earth all over your face.
Just a low-down country boy from the Southland, catching a Greyhound bus from New York City. They say it's the place to be unless
Well, you
you're
got the
out of your
Sebastopol,
head. Country style, running wild. Never know what happened to your mama's baby child.
This is good. I like the entertainment. Well, I wish I had been a guitar player and a singer, actually. But for some reason, I became a poet.
Did you ever meet Leonard Cohen?
But your mama say
No, but I have a friend who did.
I have a friend that was in Poetry Magazine.
And also, one of my first reviews was of a book of Leonard Cohen's. It was when I was still living in Canada. And so they sent me a book by a Canadian poet.
The review.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
It was called The Spice Box of Earth.
Oh yeah, that's a well-known book.
Well, it was a little over-elaborate, I thought, in places. But I liked, he had a very simple poem that was, that I remember I liked. But I can't remember the poem now, although I can almost recall it. And then, of course, he wasn't famous. Although he was quite well known in Canada already, I guess. And I think he's my age.
Yeah, he's about a little older than me, and you're
Yeah,
about
he's my
6
age.
years older than me.
Probably. That would make him my age. And then, like, you know, a year went by or two, and he was suddenly very well known, very famous.
His records, I think,
Yeah,
became popular.
right.
He was like somewhat of a Canadian Bob Dylan because he sort of spoke to that generation politically and spiritually
Yeah.
and could fuse his lyrics with his melodies in an agreeable fashion.
Well, yeah, that's true. I think he is like a Canadian Bob Dylan for a number of reasons. I think one is that he only seems to have like 3 songs, you know, like 3 melodies,
That's true.
whereas Bob has 6,
Yeah.
so, or more.
But he does a lot with them.
Yeah, he sure did.
But we don't, I think, really realize how much culture is to the north of us.
No, we had
Canada's-
that feeling that that was the case.
I mean, the Canadians have that feeling, do they not?
Yeah,
That they're sort of ignored.
well,
Well, or it's not, you know, I mean, not that, I don't know, maybe ignored is not the right word, but
I mean, the States has been very good to a number of Canadians. And, I mean, many quote, American comedians are, in fact, Canadian. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, that's okay. But, who's the fellow we saw the other day? found out was Canadian. We went to a movie. You remember?
Which movie was it?
Which movie was it?
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey.
Is he
thank you.
Canadian?
Yeah. Now this is the part where you should be talking.
I should.
Yeah, because I'm eating.
No, I was listening to the music drift in for a little bit.
Oh yeah, of course that would happen.
Well, it seems there's
It's his turn.
so many precious things to love. It hurts my mind to choose just one of them. And I recover only to discover they are all the same. I've tried to hold the gold, but I lose the ring. World slips through my hands like sand. And everything I ever wanted evaporates. Run the race, but I'm in the wrong place and time. How can I ever win if I'm standing at the finish line? 'Cause some kinds of love are an illusion wrapped up like a vision. And I will be here happily disillusioned. I don't care what happens.
What'd you do?
Spilled my wine.
If you were anybody else but me, I could not see why you're so scared to be with me. I'm alone, even in your company. So give me a second.
Do you think he said anything?
The words might mean something. I'm not sure that we meant anything. I was reading this thing in Charles Bernstein's book. It said, it seems to me that beyond surrealism, there's something very mysterious to be dealt with. That beyond automatism, there's the intentional. That beyond poetry, there's the poem. That beyond poetry received, there is poetry imposed. That beyond free poetry is the free poet. What do you think he's getting at?
I don't know. I don't know if that says anything at all.
Yeah. It's kind of surrealistic.
He might just be funning with us.
Well, what do we, I mean...
He has a great sense of humor.
Actually, this wasn't him. He was
And-
quoting him, but it was like I thought
Oh,
it
it
was in
wasn't
the... You know, it was a guy named Desnos, but I mean, it was in an
Oh, yes.
article by him, who was
Desnos was a French poet.
French poet.
Yeah.
Well, I think it dealt with how these different things like free verse or free surrealism and automatic writing and all of these kinds of techniques are a way to perhaps free our thinking processes.
Yeah.
And then in that sense,
Well, that's
there's a poem
I agree with that.
right, and there's an opportunity to become a free somehow.
Ah, yes. Well, when I'm writing, I feel free. But not everyone feels that. I'm at least at one point, Barrett Watton said it was very painful for him to write, as though it were, you know, that he had to write. And he wanted to write, I suppose, in some way. But it was very painful, and I wouldn't have done it.
If it were painful.
I told him.
If it were painful.
If it were painful, no, because I'm really
Or did he mean it
a
like
fun-loving
fun
lad,
doing that?
and sort of laid back. And I didn't really understand in what way it was painful.
I wonder if he meant it more like how labor or work is strenuous and kind of... I feel like I'm working when I'm working with a poem, and it has. I'm into the poem, and it kind of won't. I don't know how to say. I don't like to exaggerate too much, but like sometimes I can't get to sleep. So, and then suddenly, because I'm somewhat relaxed, some technical problem in the poem will sort of, I find a solution to it, and then that stimulates me to get up and write that down while I still have it fresh, because I know if I just I fall asleep, I won't remember it in the morning. Perhaps I won't. And then because I'm kind of enthusiastic again, then I'm kind of, even though I'm kind of drained and tired and fuzzy, I'm working again. And there's a kind of like uncomfortableness about all that condition, but the excitement of creation is overpowering, or not,
Yeah.
overpowering is too big a word, is more significant than the discomfort. And that I find this too, even if I'm working in the day, that I'll be pulled to what I'm working at in the poem, away from something, because my little brain is starting to get charged up around that, and I get a breakthrough, and I want to get in there and just write while the flow is good, and then I come up against the wall again. And whereas once that was painful, now I just say, oh, the heck with it, and I go back to the garden and clip some flowers until,
Well, that's a good decision.
yeah, I mean, not struggle too much with the wall. I mean, I figure the wall's just saying, you hit another wall, and not to keep bashing my head against it, because it's not like the poem is going to let me go. It's just temporarily giving me a break.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, because there was a wall in the movie I watched last night,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the the wall that defined the Jewish sector of Warsaw,
Oh, yeah.
into which they were all
Is that the pianist?
shoved. Yeah, it was the pianist.
Oh, yeah, that was a great wall.
You've seen it, haven't you?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, yeah. And even, it was very important, because also they were all being shunted off into trains that were going to take them to death camps, although this hadn't been told at the
No.
time. But they had an idea that it might
Yeah.
be.
Mhm.
And he wanted to go, the pianist. Do you remember?
Yeah. I went to the death camp.
Yeah, but he wanted to be with his family.
Yeah.
But someone recognized him
Uh-huh.
and knew he was a great pianist,
Yeah.
and knew where he was being sent,
Yeah.
and they stopped him from going.
Yeah.
Remember?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah, what did
And-
they do? Knock him out?
No,
him?
they took him around to the back of the line, as I remember, and kind of while everybody else was there, and he just went down through some alleyways until he was away from that. It was quite a survival story. I mean, it was like
It was amazing.
It was an amazing survival story, because it seemed
Yeah.
like in time and again he would come close to being somewhat captured or caught, and something fortuitous would happen, and
Yeah.
he'd just miraculously get
Well,
away.
And a lot of it was because he was a pianist,
Yeah.
and a very good one.
Uh-huh.
And so whatever else was happening,
He had a destiny, it seemed.
yeah, the thing was that whatever else was happening, people had time, it seems, to think of him
Mhm.
as someone worth saving. More than themselves,
Yeah.
actually.
Maybe that was part of the thematic material. I didn't
Yeah.
question, I didn't look at it too deeply. I was thinking how what a suspenseful film it was, and kept me interested because of the kind of the luck he seemed to have.
Well, yeah.
But a lot of it, like you say, was because people kind of hit him and gave him opportunities because of who he was.
Yeah, well, they thought he was worth saving.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I think
Mhm.
that's what I made of it.
Yeah, it is. It was because they felt that he was a great talent.
Yeah.
What? Are we there?
Just going with it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Are we here?
we're here.
Yeah.
Hey, we're here, and I think we were worth saving. we've been, at the same time, there's no one I know who isn't.
Yeah.
So it's not really.
I think this is the great message of the film. It's just, you know, how of life. The great message of life is that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was that he was an artist, and because of that, he was worth saving because he was very good.
Yeah, but is that? I mean, is ethically?
Is that true?
Is that true? I mean, in the sense that does he offer
Yes,
us
it is
more?
true.
Oh,
But I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Because it's kind of hard to feel that you are worth saving because of what you do.
Yeah, and which probably to him, I mean, although he had to study art, I mean, that was something that he could do.
Yeah, he was
Uh-huh.
a good one.
Well,
It appears.
I see we're getting the high sign that food is about ready.
Yeah, I bet.
So we could.
I don't look that way in case we are. But, you know, then you made me look that way, and I see that it is that look.
It's a good look.
It sure is. But
Food.
at the same time, oh, well, I think it's a good look anyway.
Yeah.
Even if she wouldn't feed me, I would think that. But I guess we ought to